Welcome to Switching Reels.
Good morning.
I
How
am
are
your
you?
only host, Connor Van Horn. Also with me is Trenton Baldry.
Okay, good. Because I was going to be silent the whole episode. It would have been very disconcerting.
Oh, you're not a host, you're a guest. Just every
You're
single
literally
week.
in my house. So, I mean, this makes sense from the reverse.
Okay. So, we have a surprise
Yeah.
episode.
I was surprised this last week
Yeah,
figuring out that we had to make a surprise episode.
yes. So, what did we watch this week?
This week, we watched Spider-Boy Into the Spider-Man.
I'm not calling it that. Okay. So a little context here. Across the Spiderverse has recently come out, somewhat recently.
Yeah, within the last
and
couple weeks.
It jumped up to number 11 on our list.
Which is insane. There's one problem with that, though.
We have already passed 11. So we actually talked about this off screen when we were setting this up because I was familiar.
Podcast.
Yeah, because I was familiar with the way that the IMDb Top 250 works, and this happens sometimes. Now, what'll be interesting is to see whether this stays on the list long term or not. Now, that said, this is Across the Spider-Verse is a sequel to another film that's already on the list, which is
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. So
which is sitting at number 66 right now.
Oh, wow, that high.
Yes.
That was nice. Cool. I thought it was going to be in like the lower 100, and I was going to be a little sad. That's fantastic.
No, it's a very well loved movie.
It's a solid movie.
And
which we'll talk about in a
to
second.
spoil some of my feelings on it, rightfully loved.
Yes.
Like I
Completely agree.
adore this film.
This is a good spot for recommendations.
Everyone
Yeah.
needs to watch this.
There's no one that shouldn't watch this.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm like, oh, you shouldn't watch this because it has some violence and but like this one does, like, sure, it has violence in it,
Yeah.
but it's all cartoon animated.
Mhm.
The one like could be traumatizing scene is shot at an angle that is fine.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, there's a few scenes that I think at different angles would maybe,
Be a lot worse.
yeah,
So,
might be a little more heart wrenching.
but no, this is like, it's a very, very solid movie and
Yeah.
really fun to watch. We'll go into that more here in a second. I would not disrecommend this to anyone. If for some reason you're scared of spiders, or
Actually, I have seen that complaint.
Yes.
Like, I can't watch this because I don't like spiders.
no, and that's
I'm
a
like,
good
yeah.
point. Like if you, I think it's it's arachnophobia,
Yeah.
which makes sense because it's but
There's so few spiders in this, though. I feel like you should push through the couple of scenes that
yeah,
have
there's
them.
2 or 3. There is one that like any scene with a spider is on a person,
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that is creepy if you have that. I'm sure. So if your arachnophobia extends to animated spiders, then you might have a little bit of a time, but
Yeah.
you only have to close your eyes for.
I would
couple
still
minutes.
recommend the movie.
I very much would push through it. Like, watch it with a friend, and whenever you like see a spider, or have the friend that watched it already, so they can tell you when the spiders are about to be there.
Yeah.
But watch this movie.
Yes, absolutely.
That is our recommendation.
So, again, I feel like we've spoiled this a little bit already.
Yeah,
Does it deserve its place?
It needs to be higher,
Okay.
just a little bit. I don't know that I would put it top 20 because I've seen the top 20 now
Yeah, that's true.
because it's gotten pushed down to
Yeah.
anyway. So I would say it likely is top 50 though. I would just like put it a little bit higher.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty happy with where it's sitting right now.
Yeah, I'm not dissatisfied with it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just my perfect world. I really liked this movie.
Yeah,
and
I love it. And it's
been here for a while now then, because
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse came out
came out
2018? No.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Because I was dating or engaged to Trinity at the time.
Nice. Not married yet.
Yeah. And we saw it when we went back to my family's place for one of the holidays.
Nice.
So yeah, like
I think it was a Christmas movie,
yeah.
if I remember correctly. It was a very good one. So
I lost my wallet in the movie theater, and I found out that I lost my wallet before I left, and so I went to the Lost and Found.
Good man.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's just a random fact about the movie.
There you go.
It's not about the movie at all.
No, but it's positive. Everything around this movie is positive. You believe in coincidences and fate. It's a good movie.
Interesting you should bring that up. We'll talk about that more later.
Yep. Alrighty. So does it deserve its place? Let's go ratings. You're taking too long.
Yeah.
Enjoyment for me, I'm going to put it a solid 9, 9.5. Probably 9. There are certain periods where I'm like, maybe it's a little bit slow, but
yeah.
Solid 9 for sure for me for enjoyment.
This is a strong 9 to a light 10 for me for
Yeah,
enjoyment.
Absolutely. And then technical, I'd say... See, it still feels like a 9 to a 10. Like, the animation is fantastic. I feel like it's technically better than enjoyable, so I'm going to say, 9.5. It might even be a 10. I don't know that I could point out anything that I dislike except for maybe the pacing.
Yeah. Well, and I will say there are a few artistic choices that, while I do really, really like a lot of them, some of them start to grate on me in very specific ways. Some of the jokes where I feel like, I can't wait for you to see the next one, which we'll talk about next week. But okay, yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but I'm excited. But no, there was actually one thing. Oh, let's put this behind the spoiler wall. Yeah, perfect. So very, very high rankings, not below a 9 for either one, probably. Yeah. Is your technical? My technical's an 8. Is what I'm vibing from you. Oh, okay. No, it's higher than that. Nice. It's at least a 9. Nice. Yeah. Fantastic. So yeah, I mean, solid 9s around the board. Before we actually get to the spoiler warning, everyone that hasn't seen this movie should absolutely go see it. Please, just go do it. And this is one where I'm like, even if you think you don't like animated movies, give this I don't know, 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 to 30 minutes. And if you are not the characters, you'll love the animation, hopefully. Yeah. And it's also not this is one of those movies that I feel like could be aimed at kids, but it's not really a movie that's kids movie. Yeah, it's not a kids movie. Kids can absolutely watch this, but it is not a kids movie. There's very much relatable content for adults. Yeah. Which again, we'll get into past the spoiler warning. So, if you have not subscribed, feel free to do that. Yes, please do it. I would love to see more subscribers. I'd love to see more comments. Would love to see more likes. Do whatever you want, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about the likes is if they don't like it, you can dislike it too. No one else can see it. Only I can see it, and then my heart will be sad. Oh, okay. On YouTube, are you guilting people? Yes. Don't guilt the audience, Connor says. Yeah, that's a good marketing strategy. Yeah. I don't know. You can guilt the audience if you want. And this is the spoiler wall. Yes. So, summary time. Miles Morales is just your average, ordinary teen. He doesn't want to go to school at a fancy school and wants to hang out with his friends. Then he gets bit by a spider and turns into Spider-Man. I don't know. I'm feeling very weird right now, and I'm kind of enjoying it. Hey, good. I love it. Weird is fantastic. We have Miles here, who's not Peter Parker, but he does get bitten by a spider. You hear this story a lot in the movie. And then after that, he doesn't totally know how to be Spider-Man, but lucky for him, there's 5 others that came with. 4 others? Nope, 5 others that came with. And they're not going to teach him anything. But that's okay. One of them is going to give him very hard lessons. And then his uncle dies. And then he sends them back to their dimensions. But his uncle is a bad guy. But he's a nice guy. Yeah. He's a nice murderer. You never see him kill anyone, but there's the heavy. He's a murderous henchman with a heart of gold. Yeah! Could mine that man for very much money. Kingpin is the main villain, which I've always actually really enjoyed when Kingpin is the main villain. It varies for me,
Mhm.
at least in the comics.
This one for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Kingpin is just gorgeous.
So actually, there is one thing I want to bring up while we are talking about Kingpin,
Mhm.
and it's my one
Gripe.
sort of gripe with this movie. I really think that they could have introduced his motivation in a better way. Like they just have him standing on the rooftop clicking the pen, and then he flashes back
That's
all of a
true.
sudden to
Yeah, this is a random place to put it.
yeah.
Like if you're gonna put it somewhere, do it like before the collider, or like.
I don't
Yeah.
think before the collider would be the right place, but I
true.
feel like you could maybe have, I don't know, introduced it in a way where like he's like one of his conversations with Dr. Octavius
Mhm.
could have been a good place to actually include
Drop
that, right?
And then
Like
put the flashback somewhere else.
yeah.
Yeah, I like the flashback. They did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
And like stylistically it looked gorgeous, but I do agree. Like after they stole secrets from a building and he's just standing on a rooftop is a weird place to put it.
Right, yeah.
You're totally correct.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a good point.
And it didn't bother me the first time I saw the film.
No, like you're just gripped.
Yeah.
And like the first time you see this film is an experience and it's a very pleasant one.
Yeah. The other thing that bothers me a little bit, but I also wouldn't have them change it, so it's weird for me, is some of the art style.
Yeah.
It's the tricolor sort of outline part.
Yeah.
And it starts to get on my nerves because it looks like things are blurry a lot.
Yes. It really looks like, but that's really only around the collider. Like outside of the collider.
I was noticing it in like some of the scenes where you have like, I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't just the collider.
Okay. It's like really pronounced in the collider where everything starts having some sort of shadow that's colored.
But it's supposed to look like a comic book. Yeah. And I feel like it does. It's just not the type of comic book art that I am the biggest fan of.
Absolutely.
Or at least coloring style
that
I am a fan of.
Yeah.
That said, I think this is, if we're going to say that the Dark Knight trilogy is not a series of comic book movies, or not comic book movies, but not a series of superhero movies, this is probably my favorite superhero movie of all time.
I can. It's so good. Like, oh.
And this movie brings tears to my eyes a few times. Not just on the first watch either. Like,
yeah, I got close.
If a movie can do that to me several times, and I know it's coming.
Yes.
Like
it is well made.
Yeah, it's like, very well made.
Is there anything outside of the uncle's death?
Oh yeah, the uncle's death is not even the strongest one for me. Like, I would say probably the biggest one is his conversation with his dad at the end.
Yeah.
Because like, on one hand, that's super touching, and on the other hand, it's really funny. Which, when it's those two things that are put together, it just strikes a chord in my heart.
Really nice chord. No, you're absolutely correct.
And I mean, that's why I brought up to you, like, Paddington is such a good movie for me, because I'm just like, everything is funny and also so heartfelt.
I can't wait to do the Paddington episode.
It's not on the list.
No, we're doing it.
But we'll do it. Okay.
Yeah. No, we're totally doing it.
Okay.
Yes. So.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that doesn't really fit in here, but I am not the biggest Spider-Man fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's always kind of bothered me, and I don't know if it's because I think that Miles Morales is a much better Spider-Man than Peter Parker.
Such a good character.
Or if it's because that I think Miles Morales, I'm not sure if I'm a bigger fan of the Miles Morales stuff because I'm less of a fan of Spider-Man, or if I am less of a fan of Spider-Man because Peter Parker is so much weaker of a protagonist than Miles Morales.
I would agree with that, actually, though. Like, I can't tell you what anything about Spider-Man before he's Spider-Man.
I know some things, but it has more to do with my knowledge of comic book history.
Yeah.
than it does with my actual enjoyment of
No,
the
totally.
Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
Like, for some random reason, I know that Spider-Man graduating high school was the most requested comic of all time.
Weird.
Or maybe not comic of all time, but Spider-Man comic of all time.
That's so funny.
And it happened in like the first Spider-Man run as well. It was like The Amazing Spider-Man 112 or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the number was, but
That's crazy.
it was relatively close to the beginning of Spider-Man.
That's weird.
And people wanted him out of high school, which is why I find it very funny that we keep going back to high school
back to
Spider-Man.
high school, exactly. Like
Again, I don't have a
Miles is
problem.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it with Miles Morales, but yeah, I think some of it is Miles as a character feels like he's reacting to things, whereas Peter Parker is just making quips the entire fight.
The entire time.
And I don't know, I think it rings hollow to me.
Yeah.
Whereas with Miles, it's like he's actually reacting to things in real time. You know, in this one, the really easy part is him climbing around his dorm.
Yes.
And then, or I guess the security office, and going, stop sticking.
Stop sticking.
And then he throws himself out the window on accident, and he's like, keep sticking.
Yes.
It's like, okay,
it's fantastic and legitimate, and that's a normal person,
right?
And he's very funny still.
Yeah.
Like, it's very well choreographed. I really like the Tom Holland Spider-Man as Peter Parker.
Okay.
And I think that would be the one like difference that I have. I do agree that while he's in high school, it is just rougher. Miles Morales is a better high school Spider-Man.
Yeah, I would agree. And maybe I would have liked him a lot more if it had been Miles Morales through, say, my high school years, rather than Peter Parker. Because I honestly couldn't care less.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, so that's the thing. Standout scenes and performances is going to be interesting on this one.
Yeah.
Standout scenes, the whole movie, I guess?
Yeah, the whole movie is just a standout scene. Like, I love what they do with all of the glitching, personally.
Yeah.
I really like the animation, specifically with how they do the glitches of all the different Spider-Men and women and
pigs
and buildings and stuff. There's no spider buildings. But tragically, there are no spider buildings. And so I thought, I don't know why that specifically sticks out, but I really like it. And also the soundtrack in this.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
And it's really funny. So I have listened to considerably more hip hop since I first saw this than this time. And this time I watched it, I was like, oh, I know that artist. Like, even in the I don't know what they're called, the main end credits before it, rolls, but it's the really picturesque. Yeah.
Ones, yes.
I was like, that's Denzel Curry's voice. I've listened to hundreds of hours of Denzel Curry.
Yeah.
I did not pick that up the first time I watched it because I was not listening to him at the time.
Yeah.
That's just wild to me.
That's so cool.
I forgot where I was going with it. Oh, standout scenes and performances. We were talking about the animation.
Yes.
Well, animation first.
Yes.
So there is a really cool mixture of animation styles in this, which I've always appreciated. But what I realized this time through that made me love it a lot more than the first time I watched it was actually noticing how many of the effects are two-dimensional effects placed on top of the 3D characters and assets. Like, it's so cool to see how, like, and it's often like the little things, right? You got the spidey senses that just pop up around and they're squiggling.
Yes.
But, when I guess Uncle Aaron's villain never gets a name. But,
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think they say the Prowler like once.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Uncle Aaron's the Prowler.
Okay.
When he runs in, and it's like, ah, he's gonna kill me.
But when he gets on his bike and you can see all of the lines,
yes,
just off the like, it's so subtle, but it's so good at conveying the emotion and weight of what they're trying to convey in every single shot.
And also just the like, so there's the one scene with Miles and his dad when Miles is tied up, and his dad before leaving just knocks twice, and they go and add the like little just knock sounds to it, and I'm like, oh.
I love that a lot of times. What's even better to me is when they throw the bagel behind them and it hits the guy and it just says bagel.
I didn't even see it said bagel.
There's no sound effect there. It's just bagel.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I like the whips as they are swinging at first.
Yeah. And like, I think what's incredible to me about this movie is I don't know how you get any of this past the like pitching process because it sounds stupid.
It does.
It sounds so dumb.
Hi, we're gonna make a Spider-Man movie that's animated and it looks like comics.
Well, and not just it looks like comics, but like we're going to put in all of the sound effects visually.
Yes.
It's like, no, you don't do that.
Except for when you do.
Yeah, I mean,
and it works so well.
But then you get like the, and I think everybody's seen like the bad version of this where it's like vroom and it's like, oh, the car
goes.
You just went somewhere. It's
exactly.
Like, okay, yeah. And there are, I know that you're not the biggest fan of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but I feel like that's the only time it's been done well in live action.
Though. I would agree. Like, especially, with it being live action. I think that the fact that this was animated lended itself a lot more to more of it, which I
that's
love.
fair. Well, and it gave them a lot more freedom to find the specific art style that would go with whatever they were trying to do.
Yeah.
They can have just like that white, very small printed or very small black printed simple sort of sound effects.
Yes.
Right? You got the knocks.
Yes.
And that's a great example. One thing that I don't know if they showed this any earlier in the film, but it occurred to me a lot more just with the way it was happening. After Miles is going through sort of his transformation into Spider-Man, and he's walking down the hallways is when we start seeing a lot of the, I guess what we would associate with comic book things pop into the,
all the text and...
Yeah. And it's possible that I just wasn't paying attention before, but like, I think it's really cool if that's the case that like, he's now becoming a part of this comic book instead of just
being a character.
Yeah,
like he's becoming the protagonist who we're following.
Yeah,
which is really, really, really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Cool. I could talk about this movie all day and say absolutely nothing.
Like, and it is just it's different and it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
Like, Sony and Marvel did a really, really good job with this specific iteration of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, they did a really good job of creating something that wasn't just, oh, look, it's a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
But, like, was more artistic. Like,
and I wonder how much of that was Phil Lord and Chris Miller's influence. They were the ones that, they were producers on this, which with animated films, it's hard to tell. Sometimes it is the director that's more in charge. Sometimes it's the producer.
Totally.
I would assume it's the producers on this one. But like their catalog is pretty much flawless with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and Lego Movie and 21 and 22 Jump Street, which are totally different types of movies, but
different.
I think they strike me as the kinds of people that are always kind of trying to find that new twist, that new way to do things.
Yeah. Which they did a great job here.
So yeah, I would assume it was their influence that had them pushing the envelope, because honestly, Marvel and Sony are not really known for pushing the envelope as far as
No, they like the things that will make them money.
right, yeah.
They do a good job with it too.
Yeah.
So far.
They do. Generally speaking.
Generally speaking.
But yeah, I think, if you're looking for people that are going to bring in new perspectives, it's probably them.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they did.
Yeah.
Because
me
this
too.
is a fantastic movie. So going into themes.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Do we want to talk about
I was gonna go family first.
That's probably a lot simpler than what I was gonna go
Yeah,
with.
we'll go start with something easy. There's like two more than two. Like as with every Spider-Man movie, there's always going to be an emphasis on family because almost all of the Parker backstories revolve around losing someone you love.
Yeah.
And like having to deal with that.
Well, and they even talk about that in the film.
Exactly. Yeah, and in this one, the fact that Miles Morales has a family, like a legitimate, like except for the Prowler, well-functioning family where he's just like a normal kid, I think is really, really beneficial to the story.
I would agree in a lot of ways. I think there is some evidence that with his uncle, his dad does not have a functional relationship with his uncle.
Totally.
That is clearly something where his dad is probably a little bit more unforgiving than his uncle is in that regard.
Absolutely.
Because his uncle just seems kind of disappointed with the fact that Miles's dad is not, I guess, treating him the way that he would like. But the fact that Miles's dad is not treating him the way that he would like, it feels very much like Aaron has been cut off, and his dad is the one that's like he even says when he calls him, like, I wouldn't be calling you if it wasn't important.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like,
I still love the fact that that's there to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, the more fleshed out family dynamic and backstory for Spider-Man is just fantastic.
Well, and it's not just the simple, like, either everything's good or
everything's not.
Yeah. Like, I just don't have a family, right?
Exactly.
Like that tends to be the two ways that superhero movies go, or superhero origins in general. I mean, I've read a lot of comics and I enjoy a lot of comics, but generally speaking, it's parents aren't in the picture at all.
Yep.
Or parents are in the picture so that someone can die or hold them hostage for something.
Exactly. Like they're a plot device.
Yeah.
And that's not the case here, which is fantastic.
No, it feels like there's like real things going on between them. And you even see that with like the way that his parents interact, where it's like they have different opinions and they're willing to listen to one another when somebody brings something up, but it's not like, hey, they're always at each other's throat, or they're always in agreement on everything.
Absolutely.
Right? Which I think is just such a good way to portray a family, and it's super refreshing, actually.
Really refreshing. You don't have to, like, it's not a burden on you. It's like, it does make you feel better about the fact that, oh no, Miles is going through all of this stuff. He will have a support base.
Yeah.
If all of this hits the fan.
Yeah. I have to say, the one thing that is really heartbreaking for me in regards to this is the scene, it's already come up a couple of times, about his dad at the door because he can't answer. And I'm like, that's just, it's so frustrating because his silence is so saying things
to his dad on the other side.
Yeah. Despite the fact that if he could speak, there is a good chance that he would say something to his dad.
Yeah. Which I'm really glad that they're able to go and offer that closure at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's really, really, really well done there.
With the worst New York accent I've ever heard. It's fantastic.
So good. No, Miles is a fantastic character.
Yeah.
Just generally.
Yeah.
And in addition, we also get like a snippet into a regular Peter Parker, like after going through like the prime of their life. Like,
Yeah.
they're with and this Peter Parker is a character. Like, goodness
Peter B.
gracious.
Parker?
Peter B. Parker, exactly, is just is a character.
Yeah.
And so, but like being able to see that, and like the reason that that relationship didn't go the direction he wanted is out of fear of children.
Yeah.
And I think that was just really cool.
The realization.
Partway
Should
through
I
the
have
fight.
kids?
Should I have? I'm so proud of you. Should I have kids? I really love Peter B. Parker's quips through the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're all just off, like just slightly off kilter, and they're really, really funny.
Yeah.
Really
well,
fun.
that I feel like that tangentially touched on what I was gonna bring up,
Please.
Initially, which is the concept of fate versus choices.
Absolutely.
This movie really plays with that line of like, what happens to you versus what do you make happen.
Yes.
There's so much of this that is indistinguishable. Like, him tripping on his shoelace kind of becomes a motif.
It does.
And he specifically says at one point that it's a
choice.
Right? Like, so if he tied his shoelaces, would things have changed? Like, would they have turned out differently?
Yeah.
You know, what choices has Peter B. Parker made that the other Peter Parker wouldn't have made?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of these, and I feel like they tried to bring that up with the Great Expectations book. Great Expectations, I don't see any connection between the actual book and this story at all.
I don't think I've read it. We can go on.
It's nothing like this story.
Perfect. Love that. I like the going from Great Expectations to the No Expectations graffiti, which was really, really cool. And the sorry, I had to hold myself back a little bit.
Oh, is this something that comes up in the next movie?
No. So moving on.
Okay, so it's something that comes up in the next movie.
I'm trying to think of any. Oh, also one of the like on choice and on like destination. All of these Spider-Mans, the other ones, like the ones that have been further down the line, feel like they know what it is to be Spider-Man, and like trying to like imprint what like their experience of like what it is to be Spider-Man onto Miles.
Yeah,
and it not working at all. Like, there's nothing that you can, like, there's...
Well, and we even see a little bit of that before we run into them, where he's, like, where Peter B. Parker is trying to teach Miles how to swing, and first he's like, try these things, try these things, try these things.
Don't listen to me.
Miles goes, I can't do this when you're telling me what to do. And he's like, well, then stop listening to me. And the
best
moment
advice I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the moment he stops listening, he starts figuring it out. Don't know if that's the best lesson to take, that you should just ignore everyone that has been somewhere that you haven't.
Exactly.
That said, I think understanding where to put your own influence on things is super important.
Very much so.
You know, it's kind of the idea of, in a lot of art, is you learn the rules so you know when and how to break them.
Yeah.
If you don't know the rules, you're going to break them with
no regard. Like, there isn't going to be
no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
not
not
going to be impactful.
Yeah. Well, it'll impact people in all the ways that you're not trying to. And, you know, it's the, like, using a jump cut, super effective when you want to use it the right way. But if you don't know what you're doing, jump cuts are just terrible. They'll disorient everybody, and it's not good. Same with crossing the 180 line. That one's a little bit less known, but when you have two actors and they're facing each other, they're having a conversation, and a lot of times we'll go over the shoulders of either one.
Yeah.
But it has to be the left shoulder of one and the right shoulder of the other. You don't
why?
cross the other
That
side
would be really,
because it's jarring.
that would be really disconcerting.
Yeah.
No, I can see that.
Now you can do that if you have something like really, really emotional happen and it just
And you
shatters
want
somebody's
to.
world. That's a great way to convey that. But if you just don't know and
Yes.
you do that, then you're going to jar people when you don't want to jar them.
Completely. I love that this movie is getting us talking. Like, it's done so well
Yeah.
that like it's so like it's a very relatable movie. Like,
Yeah.
you can relate it to most things, and the fact that we're looking at it from such a technical perspective is really, really cool because it hasn't happened
Yeah.
on any other movie.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I don't know, this feels like, I feel like this movie is in some ways in touch with what it is to make art, and I can't say what it is that makes me feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, surface level, like Miles does graffiti art and like that kind of thing, but like I really feel like this is a movie kind of about art, and it doesn't.
I think
there's no easy connection there.
Yeah, going on that, I would completely agree, and I feel like it might be a little bit the like search for identity, like that's what Miles does in this, and that's what eventually what gets him to the point that he's able to start understanding like his power, in my opinion, is when after the conversation with his dad, he starts to realize like why he is doing what he is doing. And that's what it opens with when he's at school is like, hey, I'm giving you this essay. Tell me about you. Like, what are your expectations for your life? Like, you have obviously really, really great potential because you're a genius.
Yeah.
What do you expect from yourself, and how does that relate to other people?
I don't know. He got a 0 on that test.
I know. Yeah, exactly. It's so well. Maybe I'm not cut up for this school.
That is one thing that I think they did really well with his characterization is like he tells several lies in this movie, but he's so transparent that no one believes him.
Who's Morales?
Not that dumb.
Not that dumb. And it's just so well done. Like the style, some pieces of the style of the movie change throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like as characters are introduced, situations are introduced, and it just all fits.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that doesn't fit except for the one flashback scene.
Right.
So like it's just so well done. Again, if you haven't seen this movie yet and we haven't convinced you, please go watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel like this is sort of where we're going to be with a lot of the movies that we're watching, where there's more things to talk about and more stuff to bring up because honestly, it's not just so dense with any one thing or another.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of really, really cool things that have been done really, really well.
I'm so excited.
So, yeah.
That's going to be so cool.
All right. Well, if we're done with this.
Have you seen next week's movie?
I have not.
I can finally ask that question and get that answer.
Yes. Yeah, it's I have not been able to make it to the theater. So, and if I'm honest, we talked before this. I knew that you had seen the new one.
We're always going to go and see it.
I intentionally did not make time to go see it. So
I appreciate it. Connor. Yeah. If I get one through this entire series over the next 10 years, I'm happy.
All right. So what you're saying is
you can absolutely go watch the other 50 that you haven't watched yet.
Yeah, go watch them intentionally like 3 weeks before.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right.
Nail on the head. I have seen it, so I'm so stoked to talk about it, especially as it now relates to this one.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. How do we end this?